far his worst game of the playoffs. The Phoenix Suns season is over. The Denver Nuggets are moving on to the conference finals for the second time in 4 years.
Welcome to a Valley Sports Plug Phoenix Suns playoff recap for round 2, game 6. I'm Chris Patrick, and with me is my man Michael Benjamin, here to break it all down for you. Well, the season is over, folks, but let's go ahead and take a look at how game 6 went down for the Phoenix Suns against the Denver Nuggets, and let's talk about it. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this one. At the end of the first, the score was 44-26. The Denver Nuggets took control early and looked like the only team that came to play today. Things didn't get any better in the second. At halftime, the score was 81-51. The Suns actually outscored the Nuggets by 3 points in the third quarter, but ultimately that just didn't matter, and the Nuggets clearly in control going into the fourth, up 103-76. When the dust settled, the Nuggets won this game 125-100 and will advance to the Western Conference Finals, defeating the Suns in this series 4-2. Now we'll pass it over to Michael Benjamin for an in-depth look at the box score here in Game 6.
It's hard to break down quarters when the game is out of hand so early. I mean, we did start with some confidence, but for some reason, KD is subbed and the Nuggets go on a 17-0 run to end the first, and the Suns are outscored by 12 in the second and are down by 30 points. Once again, it was like deja vu. I mean, it was the most points in postseason history at halftime for the Denver Nuggets. It was 5 points shy of the all-time record of halftime score in the playoffs. So, I mean, Caldwell Pope went crazy at 21 at half, and the Joker did what he did. Second in MVP voting for a reason, 32, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists, his third triple-double of the series. I mean, Jamal Murray was hit with the questionable tag, but still came in and drops 26. And then you look at the Suns. Unfortunately, the only one who really showed up to play was Cam Payne, who had 31 points and made his first 7 threes, but it was all for naught. I mean, KD, once again, the struggles continued. 8 of 19 from the field. I think he started 1 of 10 for this game. No three-pointers. Devin Booker, unfortunately, I'm a little bit worried that he's going to get that stigma of a guy who can't show up for elimination games. He only has 12 points and shoots 4 of 13. We'll get into more of that in a bit here, but absolutely nothing from the bench. 12 total points, most of it in garbage time. And in all major categories, it's really hard to look at the box score when a team is up by 30 at half, because second half is just kind of muckety-muck, and you know, you're getting in the third stringers really early, but the Nuggets took every major category. I mean, they out-rebounded the Suns by 12. They have 4 more assists. They make 16 more free throws. They outpace us in fast break points, and the Suns turned it over more. So, Chris, damn, that's a tough way to go out for a season back-to-back, and the Suns find themselves dropping this semifinal series 4-2. And are going to be going home early, unfortunately. But I'll pass it over to you for your final thoughts from this Game 6 loss and your final thoughts from the season.
It's hard for me to sit here today because I know I said that I was optimistic, but I honestly can't say that I didn't kind of see the writing on the wall, especially after how Game 5 went down and the beatdown we took in Denver. Coming back home, especially today, was just horrible. Hearing the news that Ayton he went from questionable to out. Obviously, Chris Paul was expected to possibly come back for this game, and he didn't. But ultimately, I don't know if it would have mattered. I mean, you go and look on social media right now, whether it's Twitter or Reddit, and Suns fans are fired up, and justifiably so. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around. People are pointing fingers, of course, at Ayton and CP3, but also Monty Williams. I know we were kind of talking before we started recording that I just don't know if he makes it out of this. And I got to believe that there's going to be some evaluation done, because just really questionable decisions, whether it's a common theme with Monty is letting his team get run over. And in this game, what did you say? It was a 17-point stretch that the Nuggets went on before Monty finally took a timeout. That's just inexcusable. And again, in an elimination game, I obviously the players play and the coaches coach, but you got to put your guys in the right position to be successful. And it just didn't seem like that was always happening tonight. I don't know what's going on with Kevin Durant. His shooting was absolutely dismal in this game. I think at one point he started 1 of 7 from the field. Everything was coming up short. Nothing was falling. It's almost like he acts like it's a burden to be the best player on the team. And when Devin Booker wasn't playing well, he didn't step up and fill that role that we really needed him to. I mean, we even talked about it. Booker was going to be double teamed after his 2 incredible performances here at home in game 3 and game 4. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't care about legacy conversations. I know he said that in the past, but again, I don't want to be too hard on KD and be one of these guys pointing fingers, because honestly, Nikola Jokic was eating everybody's lunch out there. He was getting whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. Back in Jock down, back in KD down. And even before that, when Ayton was healthy, he was getting back down. I'm all over the place here, but just looking at some of the notes I made, I mean, Booker and KD combined for 12 of 32 field goal shooting, to where Cam Payne has to be the leading scorer on your team. That's just not going to get it done. Again, we didn't take advantage of our opportunities at the stripe. 13 of 20, that's 65% shooting free throws. That's not going to get it done. Obviously, those 17 points wouldn't have won us the game, but it would have looked a little bit different. Both teams had 22 fouls, so we can't blame the officiating here. But ultimately, we could talk about this game and how terrible it was. We could talk about all the flaws of this series, but the season as a whole was very interesting. It had its ups and downs. We had a losing streak where we thought those were the dark days, and then the big trade happened after Ishbia took over, and things were looking up. We had Kevin Durant, and then again, the roller coaster went back down. He rolls his ankle after 2 games being played with us, and he's out until basically the playoffs started. So I think, I hate to be the eternal optimist here, but I think there's still a chance that this team can make a run next year if they regroup a little bit. We'll still have KD, we'll still have Booker. I think there's question marks on if Ayton will be here, if Monty, if CP3 will be here. One thing is clear. We need to get more support for these 2 superstars, because the guys that were role players on this team were not able to help and push us over to the top and step up when we needed them to.
First and foremost, to start for me, there are just so many different discussion points that we can go into, but we're going to have an entire off season now because the season is over. So you do want to focus on what we just saw in game 6. And first and foremost, once again, I got to start and tip my cap to the Denver Nuggets. I mean, Nikola Jokic, it seems like he's on a mission because he didn't get that three-peat in the MVPs. The guy is otherworldly right now. The same way that Devin Booker started this playoff run and what we saw within this series in games 3 and 4, I mean, he had a series to match, and 3 triple doubles, consistent 30-point triple doubles at that. He just commands the ball. They run everything through him, and he's an all-world talent, and it's crazy to see. And we're seeing what we didn't see 2 years ago, right? With Jamal Murray coming in, Michael Porter Jr. finally kind of coming into his own. I know he didn't have the greatest of series, but then you get outputs from those guys when you really needed it. Aaron Gordon, I mean, Caldwell Pope stepped up today, had a huge first half. Bruce Brown had some pretty solid games as well. And they're just a cohesive unit. And they have been together this entire year. And a good amount of those guys have been building to where they are now. And that's what we see a lot within the NBA game. I mean, specifically for when the Suns went to the finals in 2021, that's what happened with the Milwaukee Bucks. They took a couple of years and they had those pieces grow together, and they finally got to that upper echelon and were able to take it home. So it's a tough ask for a Phoenix Suns team that trades away assets and tries to bring in a key piece like Kevin Durant, who gets injured, who isn't able to really fold and mesh with these guys in the proper amount of time. And you end up going home early, like you see and what happened in those last 2 games with this series. You can look at that and try and make excuses, but I'm sorry, folks. There is no excuse for coming out 2 years in a row and getting blown out in an elimination game at home like we saw tonight. So I think the overall grand scheme of things is we're going to have a lot of beautiful discussions about what this Phoenix Suns team is going to look like next year, with pieces moving and the changing of the guard and trying to rebuild around these two superstars in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, and B, what this coaching staff is going to look like next year. Because I'm sorry, I don't know if Monty Williams is going to be able to make it through this. If we would have kept it tight and maybe lost this game by 6, I don't think we would truly be having these discussions because of all of the different points that we were just having. But to come out and be down by 30 at halftime again with a new regime in Matt Ishbia coming in, I mean, he's the one who basically pulled the Kevin Durant trade. You think that he's going to have, just a push along forward and hold hands with Monty Williams for that kind of stuff? No. And there were plenty of question marks throughout this entire postseason run on rotations, what the plan was, just general offensive sets, trying to really put these superstars into really good spots, and it didn't happen. And I'm already getting off of topic from what I said, that we weren't going to really go too far into the future. But when you get on a rant, you get on a rant. And it's really just tough to see this team fall flat once again. I know it was a really tough task to ask of them, especially going up against the number 1 seed, who had incredible record at home and who has been together the entire season and has really found their groove. But like we said, you just can't go out like that back-to-back years. I mean, Chris, are we going to get another letter tomorrow?
Oh, man, we better not. We better not.
And I don't think it warrants that. This was a really, really tough season in general. And like you said, it was interesting at parts. I mean, the roller coaster just flowed the entire season. And at the end of the day, I am proud of this Suns unit fighting. And it seemed like they did fight in that second half, but being down 30 points at halftime is just an enormous hill to climb. And it's not going to be done by even the best teams in the world, unfortunately. So lots of questions to be had in this offseason, lots of decisions to be made by this new regime and new front office. And I don't know if James Jones is the one that's on the chopping block, but Matt Ishbia is going to want to set this team and a pace that he wants. So be ready, Suns fans. Be ready.
And we'll be sure to keep following the offseason of the Phoenix Suns. No doubt a sad day in Phoenix, but this will conclude their season. And like I said, we'll be sure to keep bringing you Suns content and discussions through the offseason. So make sure you tune in, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the Valley Sports action. For Michael Benjamin, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
The Phoenix Suns season is over. The Denver Nuggets are moving on to the conference finals for the second time in 4 years.